collaborative. As always, I'll be talking to an author whose book I have recently read and enjoyed. And my guest for this week is somebody who's coming on the show for the third time with her third book. So she has been on the show with every book of hers, and I'm very excited to talk to her today because this is the first time she's coming on the show with her fiction book. She has written two poetry collections before, and she has been on the show to represent those. And today she will be representing her debut novel, and we are going to discuss that. I'm very excited to talk to her about the switch in genres and how was the experience like for her, and discuss how I like the book. And this is the book that we are going to discuss. So, Burbs, Chirps, and Catastrophic Turbs. And I'm very excited to talk to Sonal. So let's begin the episode. She's not here yet. Let me quickly invite her. Just waiting for my guest. Okay, Sonal. Uh, did you receive my invitation to join? Let me quickly invite you again. Hi, Sukana. Thank you for joining. My guest for today is Sonal Singh. She's on the show for the third time, and we are going to discuss her debut novel. It's going to be a very exciting episode. Okay, you can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you, except that my.
You will have to turn on your front camera.
Yep, I just did, but for some 1 second.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah, perfect. Yes.
finally.
Yes. Yes. Welcome back to the show. I think you
Thank
have
you.
to go. You'll have to book a slot for every season now. But then you'll have to write also so
I have
many
to
books.
write so many books. I'm lagging behind. My God, when I see your numbers, I'm like, hey,
No, no.
Bhagwan.
You didn't read my caption or what? You inspired me this time to speed up my writing of this book.
I did read. And would you believe it? Just to read your book, I've just bought a brand new Kindle.
Oh wow! Oh, so happy! Congratulations on that. Before we go on to all of that, let me first show the cover to everyone. Do you have the paperback? Please show it to everyone.
Yes, I don't have the paperback, but I have it in Kindle here. Yes, I
No, yours,
have this.
yours in paperback.
My book. Yeah, yeah, I do have that. Yeah.
Yes, I just love the yellow cover. Even it's so bright and cheerful. Very nice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, that cover is also something that even I love. So when I was speaking to Indrani, who's my managing editor at Readomania, and
Hmm.
she called me and she said, I have a vision for the cover. And I said, even I have a vision for the cover.
Wow.
And she's like, I think there should be some, cartoonish caricature kind of character. I was like, same, ditto. That's
Nice.
and I want some vibrance on the cover so that people would want to pick up this book just even to view the cover if
Hmm.
it was ever to be at a bookshelf. And
Yeah.
what they delivered was, of course, I mean, it was beyond
Yeah.
what I had visualized.
All the zoo animals, I mean, the little zoo.
Zoo is the right word.
All of
You,
them
you,
are there.
you should ask chaotic zoo.
Yes. Before we come to all of that, I mean, you have been a fixture on this show now, but for the benefit of the newer audience, can you briefly introduce yourself, please?
Okay, so my name is Sonal Singh. So for the newer audience, those of you who don't know me, I am an HR professional. I run an HR consultancy. That's where I get the money to pursue other things that I love to do, which include writing and animal rescuing. And my house is it's like a mini zoo at this point. So I've got a dog. I've got two rescued cats. I've got an African grey parrot. We've just
I
adopted
think you
a
counted four
country
birds.
parrot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have rescued, I have some Australian rescued finches. star finches and golden finches. Plus, I've just added a few months back. I added a little pond to my balcony because I really wanted that space, just the green space where I could just look and see a few fish swim. And unfortunately, the pond is not very big, and the fish have been multiplying. So now I'm looking to give them up for adoption. If not the
Oh,
case.
oh, nice. The pond is becoming
This is
smaller for the
basically
fish
about
now.
me.
Yeah, lovely. And now, coming to the book, we'll talk about the lead character in the book later because I know where the inspiration comes from and all of that. We'll come to that later. But
Okay.
uh, such a lovely book. And initially, when you talked about the book release and everything on your Instagram, I was under the impression that it might be a detective story. But then when I didn't read the blurb because I wanted to be surprised. I didn't read the blurb. So I
Uh-huh.
immediately picked up the book without the blurb and just depending on the post that I had seen on your socials. So I was like, okay, this might be like a fun mystery or detective story. But then imagine my surprise when I found out that it's not that at all. It's about a family we can relate to because they are based in India. Of course, that's the first thing. But then there is this completely different characteristic about that family because it is they are living with so many animals and birds, and that's not a common thing we see.
Yeah,
I mean,
in utter
people.
chaos.
Yeah, I mean, at max we have seen people have two or three pets, and those might be cats or dogs. But we have here
Yeah,
like a full parade of animals.
correct, correct. I have like सबके जानी दुश्मन, like बिल्ली का जानी दुश्मन कुत्ता, चिड़िया का जानी दुश्मन बिल्ली. मेरे घर में वो पूरे ecosystems describe कर रहे हैं.
Yes. So we see that in this family that's a part
Right.
of this particular story, and we besides the animals that share a very warm relationship with their pet parent, pet mother, and there is a there, but there are other characters who are not who take a little time to warm up to these characters, and
Correct.
they have their own disgruntlement with the lady of the house. They are like हमेशा का क्या है कितने कितने animals लाएंगे and all of that drama is happening.
Disgruntlement is the
Yeah.
correct word. I wish I could have invited my husband, my kids on this side. They would have stories that would have kept you in business for 2 years at least.
And besides that, but I mean, they have their own disgruntlement, but they like this particular woman's quirks, and they accept it, and they also start to accept the animals that are a part of her life around her in that particular house. And one particular thing that I really liked is that you have shown one similarity also you can say between our two latest books is that you have shown familial love in the form of generational love. There is the grandmother also, there's the parents, and then there are the two daughters. I love that they have a very special bond, and you have shown that growing between the chapters. There are
There's
disagreements.
something that
There are
struck me
disagreements.
about ink inheritance as well. The minute I read, I started reading, and I was like, okay, I was immediately it struck me, Manali. Oh my God, Manali and I just think so similarly. Last time also with when we were discussing poetry,
But
we came to that conclusion
yeah,
that you and I we think along the same lines, and here again, it was I was like, okay, we'll talk about it later. I mean, my favorite story in the book and why it's my favorite. But when I read that, I was like, oh my God, I could have written this. In fact, I have written a pretty similar story. So I was like, भाई ये तो ऐसे लग रहा है अब तो मैं लिख नहीं सकती वो short stories. I have to park them aside. People will say कि मनाली का book copy हो गया है.
no, I'm sure it's very different. We can always say inspired.
Yeah. I'm gonna write that.
Anyway, so yeah, absolutely loved reading the book because I was laughing. I was almost in tears with especially between the bonding between the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law. You have shown it so beautifully how it changes just because the communication is shared, and I think
Right.
that changes everything. When we talk to the person, when we break that one barrier, and everything changes, and in a positive manner. So I
Correct.
really like that. And
Thank you so much.
there are also, of course, we are going into the past also where we are learning about the love stories of the two generations. That was also really heartwarming. So, wow. I was
Thank
laughing,
you
I was
so much.
crying. Absolutely loved it. And
Thank
on
you
that
so much.
note, I'm going to read out a few passages from the book. I was unsure what I wanted to read, so
Hmm.
I have gone with my instinct of reading from the first chapter itself because
Okay.
impossible to pick. So I am quickly going to shuffle to the first page because right now I was on the last page. Yes, we are. Uh, the first chapter. By the way, I also want to tell you, I love the chapter names. You have done a wordplay with each
Thank
chapter
you.
name also, which was lovely.
Thank you so much.
And you know my love for
Love for
wordplay
alliteration.
yeah, wordplay and alliteration and everything.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm like the queen there, up there.
I,
All
I marked I marked that as a question to ask you later on because that's something that immediately struck me. Even I'm very fond of using words of speech, but I don't like to superimpose them in every sentence or every place.
yeah,
It needs to flow naturally. So a
exactly.
metaphor needs to come at the right moment. अभी सुबह सूरज उग रहा है जरूरी नहीं है कि इसको metaphorically उगाया जाए. भैया उग तो रहा है ना उगने दो उसको. Let it rise normally. But
Yes,
if there's a sunset and somebody is thinking and in a reflective mood, then the metaphor can come in. And
yes,
you use that very beautifully throughout your, book, certain lines, certain sentences. So I marked that out to ask you actually.
okay, so the first chapter is titled Sweat, Pets, and Floral Regrets. And once again, just for everyone who wants to check out the book, I want to say that every chapter is like that. There is a wordplay, there is an alliteration, there is a rhyming scheme of sorts. So that's also fun to, just one of the elements to like about the book. And this is how the book starts. April 9 dawned hot in Hyderabad. The sun, along with the Chowdhuries, rose early and it only added to the woes of the day. The sun, not the couple. The previous night had been unseasonably warm, salvaged only by the heroic efforts of an air conditioner that had laboriously whirred to blast out cool air. Thank God for small mercies, courtesy of which the couple had snagged a few hours of good sleep. So important to the working middle class, right? But the day promised to be harsh. Kindness? That wasn't its intention at all. By 6:30 a.m., when the Chaudhary couple settled themselves into the cushioned balcony chairs facing east, the sun was already blazing waves of heat down on the land. The Deccan rocks, Hyderabad's literal foundation stones, were belching heat back into the surroundings like giant radiators cranked up to the max. The refreshing morning breeze that, on most days, blew in from the lakeside had clearly taken the day off. Outside, it was still as a picture. Not a leaf stirred, not a bush swayed. Even up on the 26th floor, the air felt oppressive and unbreathable, almost as if it itself was gasping for breath. It was the sort of weather celestially designed to test anyone's patience, and it did. Oof, it is too hot even to enjoy a cup of chai, Mrs. Chowdhury grumbled. With a grimace, she set down her teacup and fanned her menopausal hormones. With the urgency of a woman trying to airlift herself out of summer. With a pamphlet that had fallen out of the newspaper her better half was reading, Mr. Chaudhry, a seasoned veteran of marital cues, sprang up with alacrity and switched on the ceiling fan. He knew how to take a hint, especially one from his wife of 24 years. Good man. It will be better now, he commented with hopeful optimism and resumed his diligent perusal of the newspaper, something he did religiously every morning. He prided himself on being updated on all current affairs, be they governmental related to sports or illicit trysts and liaisons in the neighborhood. The man may not have been a newsman, but he was definitely a news magnet. See, that's the wordplay again. Mrs. Chaudhry again picked up her cup and dunked the Parle-G with practiced precision into it. With a quiet plop, the biscuit dove into the chai and disintegrated in the milky depths like a soggy martyr. The double onslaught of environmental and brewed heat turned out to be too much for its crumbling disposition. Arre yaar, she lamented, frowning into her cup. Mr. Chaudhary wisely kept his nose buried in the newspaper. He didn't twitch a muscle. Years of marital survival had taught him, when in doubt, stay silent. So I'm going to stop here. What happens after this? You have to go read it. You already know it is going to be a lot of fun because We were laughing while reading, and so I was also laughing at her own words. Clearly, she's
I
enjoying
can
the
imagine my husband's
flashback.
expressions actually.
So clearly, I mean, she's also going through a flashback and imagining her own husband in this scenario, which I'm sure every reader who's married or in a long-term relationship will relate to.
I can understand.
Yeah, I especially loved when in doubt, stay silent. Best. So, Sonal, firstly, congratulations. I absolutely loved reading the
Thank
book,
you so
as
much.
you can see. And I have to, once again, as I did the last time, I have to show you how much I have highlighted. Like every page has a highlight. You won't believe. See.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
So, yes, coming to my questions for you, I had to list down and cut them down to two, which was very difficult considering how much I love the book and how much I love now your fiction also and previously your poetry also. So my first question to you is, give me a second, quickly pulling it up. Yes, my first question is, uh, we have already spoken about you. You have told us in your introduction itself that you are also an animal lover. So my first question is based on that. You have written in the acknowledgements that this is inspired by a personal story. So
Correct.
I read that the story is inspired by a real life experience of rescuing a sunbird.
Correct.
At what point did you realize that this wasn't just an experience, but it required a novel of its own?
So how it came about is actually, see, my father also loves animals, and since I grew up in Air Force camps, that part was true in the book. And we've always had animals and rescued birds or kittens or something or the other, in the house.
Hmm.
That's something I've always done, and I'm very used to rescuing birds and tending to them and stuff like that. But 2 years back in 24, April 24, in revert to a message on our society's pet group, I happened to come in possession of this baby sunbird. Now, initially, I thought that because the sunbird has a very distinctive long curved beak, so
Hmm.
I knew it was not a hummingbird, they're much tinier. But then I was like, okay, ठीक है, must be a grain eater, इतना कुछ लंबा बीक है तो शायद ग्रेन के लिए खाने के लिए भगवान ने दिया होगा. But to my surprise, I mean, when I learned that this is a sunbird needs to be raised on nectar, I was like completely shocked because I'd never in my life have I raised a nectar-eating bird.
Hmm.
So that experience in itself, there was a lot of learning required in order to raise it.
Hmm.
They were in naturalists that I kind of whose articles I read. I mentioned them in the acknowledgement.
Hmm.
Their article on rearing a baby sunbird, their step-by-step process that really helped me to raise the Miss Tiny and eventually rehabilitate her back into the wild.
Hmm.
So that experience, I know prior to that for 2 years, I'd been in a writing slump. I'd not been writing, but raising Miss Tiny brought me so much joy. The day-to-day things that I was doing with her. I mean, I'm hugely against people plucking flowers in public areas and gardens. And then I had to go and pluck because she needed fresh flowers. So then all of those things I started cataloging on Facebook
Hmm.
via, Facebook posts and Instagram posts and stuff. And then people started reacting to it. And just one day, after I'd released her, and I was kind of missing her. This was a month after that, and I just told my husband, I said, I really wish I could, continue writing about it and stuff. So he said, then why don't you just write a book? And I was like, I've never written fiction. I've never written story mein ya story likhti ho, short story. You're talking about a novel. He's like, why not?
Hmm.
And that's how I started writing. And I knew that, yeah, there was a story somewhere in it. It was not the story that was published eventually
Hmm.
because that has no characters. Initially, it was just supposed to be a book on rescue, a very hardcore rescue kind of a saga.
Hmm.
And but then, fortunately, I submitted to Penmancy. They liked the concept. Readomania picked it up, and then that's how the book kind of, was organically kind of created. That's how it
Okay. I do have a follow-up question. Give me a second.
happened.
Pulling it up again. Yes. The follow-up question is, since you are very similar to the central character in this story, Mrs. Chaudhary, a lot of it is, I'm sure you have drawn from personal experience and your own personality traits. My follow-up question is that she's notoriously close to your own personality. So how did you consciously stop yourself from making her too much like yourself?
The first thing I did was to make her a chai drinker. I do not drink chai. I drink only coffee.
Oh,
It
okay.
was a constant struggle for me to achieve the distinction because unknowingly, a lot of me would creep into the book, and I didn't want it to be about me only, that kind. So I wanted it inspired by the things that I do, but not by me as a person.
Hmm.
So that's the reason I kind of shied away from that. Mrs. Chaudhary in my book is a chai drinker, whereas I'm a coffee drinker. She's
Hmm.
rescued a lizard in my house. Reptiles are totally banned, not because of me, but because the rest of the family has categorically stated the day you get a reptile in, either you will live outside or we will leave you. So it is as simple as that. So reptiles are totally out.
Hmm.
So are any kind of arachnids. So no spiders, nothing like that. मतलब मेरे घर में छिपकली भी आ जाती है तो मुझे बुलाया जाता है कि मम्मा या my husband will say Sonal मेरे को उधर कमरे में छिपकली है please भगा देना. So that's how it is in my house. So consciously I wanted to bring in a kind of an animal which would create that eek moment in the book,
Hmm.
and a lizard kind of suited it best. So
Hmm.
initially she was supposed to be a house lizard, but then I thought it would, instead of eek, it would be yuck. So I made it an oriental garden lizard. And yeah, but it was a real struggle for me, Manali. I'll be very honest here, to dissociate myself from Mrs. Chaudhary and create a character which was similar and yet a little different. One more thing is that Mrs. Chaudhary is a big extrovert, which I'm not. I am an ambivert. I used to be an introvert. I'm an ambivert now, but I don't go about policing society business. In fact, I am very far away from all that society business. I'm a
Hmm.
member of the society pet club, but साइलेंट मेंबर टाइप्स.
Yeah.
किसी को हेल्प चाहिए होती है, कोई डोनेशन चाहिए होता है, एनिमल इन नीड आई गो, अदरवाइज नॉट. तो आई एम नॉट लाइक हर कैरेक्टर, वेरी आउटस्पोकन, लेक्चरिंग पीपल एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. वैसे भी मेरी कोई सुनता नहीं, घर के बच्चे तो सुनते नहीं, और कौन सुनेगा. तो इसके मतलब the only person that listens to me is my dog Gappu. He's the only one who listens to his mama. That's it. So it was
So
a constant struggle for me. Yeah.
yeah, so but I am also through your response, another thought that pops up in my head is, were you also vicariously living through Mrs. Chaudhary's character because because you are not allowed to have
Oh
rep
my
the
God, yes, you're the only one who's picked up on that. I loved writing that character, and I wish that I could, bring in more animals and stuff and things to rescue. I mean, I have rescued things like I've actually had, as a kid, I've had crabs as pets because they were rescued from somewhere and somebody got them, and then I got, So every Sunday I would go to the fish market to buy fish for them and keep it in the freezer to feed them. I've rescued squirrels and God knows what not. So there was, for me, it was, क्या क्या और डाल सकती हूँ इसके अंदर, what all had Mrs. Chaudhary done? And then I was like, no, this also needs to be balanced about emotions, and there's a word limit, so better limit the animals. But I loved the experience of the relationship between Mrs. Chaudhary and Junki, the lizard.
Yeah.
That was for me. I was like, to have a reptile trust you to that level,
Hmm.
because reptiles are notoriously non-trusting. So to have them trust you, so that kind I did live through her. Yeah. I enjoyed writing. I have written that book for myself.
Because yeah, you the way you are saying, I immediately understood कि मैं उसमें नहीं कर सकती हूँ, चलो at least let Mrs. Chaudhary have it.
I know.
Right? And also the fact that you said that she's so extrovert and you are an ambivert. So was that
Yeah.
also maybe subconscious that, I can't be like that, let her be like that. Maybe someday I
I
will become
wanted
that,
a
I'm
more.
also becoming like that. Something like
Mm,
that.
not particularly. I wanted a more outspoken woman for my character because I wanted to show just how deeply flawed she could be. She's
Okay.
great at so many different things, cooking and stuff like that, animal rescue, managing a room, everything. And yet, as a human being, she's flawed. And it takes a lot. होता है ना, when you used to preaching and lecturing too much, you tend to forget that you yourself can be at fault. And I wanted to show that via my book, ki such people can be at fault too.
Hmm.
So that's possibly one of the reasons why, although I did live vicariously through her in this book and I enjoyed writing her, but I wanted to make sure that her extrovert nature, there was somewhere a learning there.
Huh.
Because at times extrovert people tend to become too outspoken. They don't
Uh,
consider the
right.
consequences of their spoken words. So I
Yes.
wanted Mrs. Chaudhary to understand, ki, yeah, words have consequences. My actions have consequences. So
Hmm.
that's why there was a lot of learning in the book.
Yes.
So
You for answering
that
that. Which brings me to another bit that I really liked, which is the conversations that she has with her husband, Mr. Chaudhary. Whenever she's in a fix, she tries to. He's the voice of reason.
reason. Correct. Correct.
And there is one particular conversation where she realizes that the way she was behaving with the people living in that same society as hers, she was being a little too harsh and too judgmental towards their
Correct.
actions. That I absolutely love the conversations she has with her husband and the epiphany that she also comes through. Like I'm also wrong, and that acceptance of uh, herself as
Your fault.
being in the wrong. That was a very beautiful journey to read of hers, and then the conversation that she has with her husband.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope I was able to bring it out properly.
You did. And since you spoke about it, I was like, yes, that was one of the things that I really like. That this is a flawed character, and she is slowly realizing that she is at fault also.
He's at fault. Correct.
Yes, which brings me to my second question. Now, I had to ask this because this is your first foray into fiction writing. So, fiction demands a completely different rhythm than poetry. Tell us what surprised you most about writing your first novel. That's the first question. I do have a follow up, but let's.
What surprised me most about writing my first novel was the fact that I could actually sit and write 25 chapters. I could actually write 60K words. I
Hmm.
mean, इससे पहले तक I have stopped at 25K because I have written a lot of novels on, in my laptop. There are a lot of folders containing novels and books and stuff. And after a point of time, I get really bored with the topic itself. And I'm like, अरे मुझसे लिखते नहीं बन रहा तो लोग पढ़ेंगे कैसे इस चीज को? It's that kind of feeling. I'm constantly judging myself. And then for me, the most difficult part was actually completing this book, setting a task, and then deciding that नहीं हाँ ये 25 chapter करने हैं types.
Hmm.
So that was also the motivating factor in a matter of speaking, the fact that no, I have to complete this.
Yeah. And I think that works really well for most people in the creative field. Like we need to continuously challenge ourselves and do something we have not done before in order to, keep the creative juices flowing. So
We have
yeah,
to be very dogged in our approach. That discipline is very important. That no, this is the time I need to write, so I need to write.
exactly.
And yeah, with professional commitments, it becomes really, really difficult. Like
Yeah.
as I said, when I entered this book into the Penmancy Pitch Fest, I was somewhere at 15,000 words or something like that. Eventually, it went to 70,000, was edited, and came to 61.5 thousand.
Okay.
Now from 15, I was in a panic when I realized that okay, my book is longlisted, and I was like, oh my god, how much time do I have? So I knew what was going to be there in the book, but it had not been written. And
Hmm.
that's when I really started writing. So there were a lot of 3 a.m. sprints because then morning 6 a.m. onwards, you're at work and preparing for work. Entire day you're at work. And honestly, at night, I simply cannot write. After 7 p.m., I'm dead. Please, nobody disturb me. now I'm going to the land of the dead people. So this book involved a lot of 3 a.m. Writing sprints. That was the most challenging part for me, to get up in the morning. I like to get up really late. I hate early mornings.
Yeah, another trait you share with Mrs. Chaudhary.
Yes, right. But she's reformed in the book and so
Which brings me to my follow-up question in this. The subgenre here is humor, of course, and
correct.
whatever I read out, we were laughing through, and I'm sure whoever is listening to it also chuckled a bit. So the subgenre is humor over here, which is, I believe, one of the most notoriously difficult genres to write. So how do you know when a joke landed on the page and when it needs another draft?
Oh my God, this was very difficult for me to do. See, as a writer, I tend towards humor very, very naturally.
Hmm.
So, sarcasm, humor, satire, all of these things come naturally to me. In fact, to such an extent that once for a Penmancy prompt, I remember I wanted to write a horror story. And after I finished writing it and read it, there was so much humor in it. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? So, I am horrible at writing horror, honestly. I'm horrible at writing thrill. I mean, उसमें भी humor आ जाता है. So for me, writing humor was not difficult. But yes, when is it too much? When is it too little? For this, I would say there are two things that were vital. Number one was I ran this book by Natasha Sharma. So she read the first few chapters, whether the humor was landing right or not, or whether the description, initial first chapter is pretty lengthy as compared to the others. And I was a little worried that whether the description of Mrs. Chaudhary was going overboard, the kind of person she is. So we cut down quite a bit in that. And the second person was my sister Shweta. So she read the complete book, and she of course had her nuggets of wisdom कि भाई ये बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया joke है, ये बहुत कम हो गया, या whatever. These two people, number one, they helped me to kind of understand the reader's perspective. And the second part was that I tried to crispen the jokes a lot. So that editing took a lot of my time. So whatever extracts had humor in them, I have edited them over and over and over till I felt that the reader would at least tickle their funny bone.
Okay.
So that's the reason. I mean, writing the book was a 2.5 month process. Editing it was a 6-month process for me, only because of the humor part. And there are still areas now that if I read it again, there's still areas where I find there's so much scope for improvement. But now it's like hindsight is always 2020. So, so now there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, वो like थोड़ा और better हो सकता था वाला feeling. I don't think it ever goes.
It remains correct. True.
But now that we are talking about the humor in the book, tell us about one particular scene that you were writing. While writing it, you were like, okay, it's very funny. And then when you went back to it, maybe in the second or third draft, you were like, no, I need to edit this. It's not landing as I wanted.
Okay. So this would be the scene where I introduce Alfaz Khitabi. So yeah, so that scene actually, when I started describing the gentleman, it was pretty lengthy. So वो 2 पन्ने का description था, and although my editor okayed that, she's like, no, this is fine, we can carry this. Somewhere I felt that बाकी लोगों को उतना balance नहीं मिल रहा था. So mother-in-law's character, the description is pretty lengthy. Or BRB's character, the description is lengthy. But they weren't getting as much text space as Kitabi was getting. So that's something that I had to cut down, rewrite, so that, and then later on I have introduced it via his character, in interactions with the mother-in-law or something, उस type की चीज. But हाँ, वो मुझे जरूर लगा कि I really wanted to write it lengthier because I was having so much fun writing about it, but it needed to be cut down. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sonal, for answering all those questions and even the spur of the moment questions that popped up in my head. Thank you. You were kind enough to answer those. Now the floor is yours. You have also read my latest book. Let's go there.
One second, let me just open this. I'm still pretty new to this new Kindle, so yeah, here it is.
Congratulations on that. For those of
thanks to you. Thank you for writing the book. Because of the book, I got a new Kindle.
So happy that I'm encouraging more of safe paper in everything.
Correct. So, okay, so I'm going to speak a little about your book first, because how it made me feel. As I said, Manali, a lot of the stories, it felt like I'd personally written them. At some point or another, I have written stories like these. I love writing about the relationship between children and grandparents. I lost mine pretty early on. So both my grandmas, and then kind of see you closer to your grandmas than to your grandpas. If you're not living in a joint family or whatever. So I lost mine pretty early on, and I love exploring those relationships. So a lot of my stories, even if they're humor or drama, they tend to have a lot of grandparental characters or senior characters and children. The reason is that grandparents become the voice of reason, and the children can literally get away with saying anything. The cheekiness jo hoti hai na, they can do that basically. When I read your book, that's the first thing that struck me. That the balance of that cheekiness to that the moral, which is not, I would say, overstated, it lands gently. It just lands. You read the story and you realize, acha, स्टोरी खत्म हो गया है, उसमें कोई मॉरल नहीं है नीचे. But then you realize, oh, this is the message. There's a message in it, hidden between the lines. So that's something that I really, really loved about your book. Second thing I loved was that you did not force this. I said beforehand also, the figures of speech, they're not forced. In fact, many are not even figures of speech. Many are just few lines. Like this, the one story that I absolutely loved is Once Upon a Page. I too have written a similar story. You will not believe it.
Oh,
Mine
wow.
is one blank pages. I think I wrote it about 4.5 years back. It is the story of a grandmother and a granddaughter who loses her parents and goes to live with her nanny, whom she calls Amma. And then she, Amma buys her a bookstore because she loves
Oh,
books and stuff like that. So
this
when
is
I
so,
read the story, I was
so
like,
similar.
it was deja vu, And that story is very close to my heart for obvious reasons, because I love books.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that came across in your stories, that there are books, there is encouragement towards reading, there's encouragement towards learning from elders, there is encouragement towards familial bonding. So that's something that I really love. Now, in this story also, Once Upon a Page, let me just find it towards the end. Like you've written, it may be in this story or some story. 1 second. I think it's in the first one only. I've highlighted section. I'm not very good. First story. That year a tradition was born quietly in their home. This last page that you've, I don't know if somebody can see it. Okay, this is the last page. Yeah, I've highlighted this. I love this. So it was, freedom was never one thing. It was how it traveled from one generation to the next. And that set the tone of the book for me. How what you were trying to convey in every story, this was the perfect beginning actually for me. The perfect first story, and this is something that I absolutely, absolutely love.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
this story, Once Upon a Page, and this character of Saloni Sharma, they're my favorites.
Yeah.
Hands down, because of the reason I told you. I would like to read this excerpt. There's a letter here
Yes.
from the grandmother to the granddaughter, right? So I'm
Yes.
going to read out that if it's okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So currently, as she stood in her grandmother's secret spot with teary eyes, Saloni opened Knots and Notions, revisiting her amateur beginnings as a writer. So, okay, for those who haven't read this, Knots and Notions was her manuscript, which was not published. The pages opened to the words where she talked about her first kiss. An envelope fell out, and before Saloni could collect it, the unending slender arms handed it to her, locking Saloni again in those hazel eyes. She took the envelope, reluctantly peeling away her gaze, and began reading the letter within. Dear Saloni, I'm sorry I could not stand up for you all those years ago. I'm sure Keshav did not let you attend my funeral. I knew my end was near, so don't grieve for me, my child. I'm leaving the biggest piece of my heart with you in any case, so you won't miss me much. Take care of Between the Lines for me, which is the bookstore, and also for those hazel eyes who played a huge role in getting the store to the success that it is today. Those hazel eyes are the other character in the story. I'll tell you about it.
I can see the cat behind. Can we have the cat? I can see the cat behind.
Yeah, and he was over here. Oh, hi. Hi, Smokey. Come, say hello. So this is Billu from the story.
Oh,
This is Billu. How are you, Billu?
cutie.
Say hello to everybody.
Hi,
Smoku?
cutie.
She's quite confused right now कि ये कर क्या रही है यहाँ बैठ के. हाँ, खाने का टाइम हो रहा है, खाना तो दे नहीं रही है. So anyway, you'll find another
Anita here.
document.
I'm just going to pause you. Anita is here. Anita Sharma is also an author. She was on the show a few weeks ago. She's also saying loved Once Upon a Page too. Thank you so much, Anita.
Same here, yeah. Okay, so to continue, you'll find another document with this envelope. I hope you read this one first and that next. In case you already read that one, a big, huge, grand, mammoth hug from this old lady and many congratulations. Know that your Nemo always loved you no matter what. Always with you, Madhvi Sharma. This extract, the fact that, this letter, this conveyed to me a generational bond that even words don't convey. The use of the letter within the story creates a niche which kind of, builds on the emotional impact, and it lands harder.
Yeah.
And then the last part, of the story, where the reveal is there about the hazel eyes and who that was. I'm not going to tell everybody because it will spoil the story for them. But I like the fact that you took it to that point, that you did that it wasn't just a regular kind of a romantic thing, and that's where people would have gone with you.
Yeah.
So I really like. So this story is very. I love this story. Absolutely love this. I like the horror wala story also, but this wala story very close to my heart, I would say.
You. Thank you.
So,
In
okay.
fact, a lot of the inspiration for Between the Lines is from the cafes that I have visited, especially at hill stations. I love the cafes that are at hill stations and they have that picturesque
Same.
background and such cozy
My
vibes.
story is also based on a hill station. My God. So I have to send you that story now.
Please do. And now I'm very
Oh
keen
my
to read the
God.
story.
Imagine. Okay. On that note, I would like to ask you, uh, one thing that struck me as I read your book, Manali, although you've said that you've titled it Inked Inheritance, but what struck me most was that this is a book that has legacies. There are legacies built upon legacies. The legacy of shared wisdom, the legacy of generational love, the legacy of generational. होता है ना कि how tribal communities have these folk songs that are handed down because that's how they carry their history forward to the next generation. So that's something that it's a recurring theme in this book, the legacies. And it's very evident through your wordplay, characterization, especially. Plus, I would like to know the plot lines. So, what is it that you, Manali, wish to leave behind as a legacy, not just because of this book
Hmm.
or via this book, but also as a human being, as a person? What is your legacy going to be?
I think more than anything else, I just want to leave behind a legacy where, when someone thinks of me, they are immediately reminded of a moment when I was kind to them. When I tried to make them as comfortable as I could. I think that's the legacy I want to leave behind more than anything else. ये सब नहीं है. These achievements, they are materialistic, I feel.
They're materialistic, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I would still say that the emotions that you brought out in your stories or the morals that they carry, those legacies equally are important. I
Yeah.
mean, that is something that, see, once you've written something, it's out there in the world for anybody to see. And I
Yes.
hope that people pick up on that also, just not kindness. Kindness is a virtue here in the stories also. But more than that, it's relationships, how to build on relationships, basically. That is there. And that brings me to my second question. Do you think आज के ज़माने में, when children are so addicted to the screen times, they're so addicted. I mean, when we were young, I mean, I grew up in an era where I've seen the black and white, to no television, to black and white television, to colored television, to flat screen and OLEDs now. But during that time, I mean, it was all about sports. So
Hmm.
आप घर के बाहर जाकर के खेलते ही थे, तो by default you had to form bonds, you had to make friends. But right now, children aren't doing that.
Hmm.
Correct. So my question is, do you feel that today a book like this, Inked Inheritance, is more relevant, and that even children should read books like these just so that they understand the value of familial bonding, why family is important? Because children are forgetting that nowadays, in nuclear families especially.
Yeah. So, yes, I think it's become doubly important, not only because of my book and the way it talks about familial love and, bonding, but also because of the fact that I think children are losing uh, a sense of literature, a sense of reading, the goodness that comes out of reading books and the joy that books can bring about. I think that is also going away. So
Correct.
I would just say that, read any book, start somewhere. I'm not necessarily saying they should read my book. They can start with any other author's book also. But on that note, I do want to say that I have had a reader and a 10-year-old who has read the book and she absolutely loved it. Shout out to Pooja Ben. She was one of the members of the street team and her daughter read the book. In fact, Fitmelt also, she was a part of my street team, Pooja, and her daughter read it and she loved that book also. So I am hoping that, the people who are reading, the adults who are reading my books, and if they have children who they feel would be
Benefited by the wisdom within.
Yeah, if they feel this is age appropriate for them, I hope that it is passed on to them also, because I have seen it through Puja, I have seen it through other family and friends also, where they have read the book and they felt it was age appropriate for their children, and they let them read my book also, and they have enjoyed it. So I think that's where we can begin. If you are liking one book as a parent, and if you feel that your child would also enjoy it, just pass on the book.
Pass on the book, right? No, I think that's a very valid point, because I do feel that somewhere along the way, of course, आजकल in bigger cities, time has become an issue, you know. So kids don't have time. They don't school से आते हैं सीधे ट्यूशंस पे चले जाते हैं. Games का भी time नहीं है. But
Exactly.
I think we are at an age where parental relationships are suffering. So children and parents, that relationship is suffering. तो आप सोचो कि grandparents के साथ कितना suffer करता है. मतलब we have to literally force the kids कि नहीं भाई आज Sunday है, आज अपने grandparents को phone करना ही है, भले ही 2 minute. And they're like, we have nothing to discuss with them. You know, most of the kids say this nowadays. What do we talk to them about? We have nothing to discuss with them. This is something maybe books like this, you know, that gap these books can
Yeah.
bridge.
Yes.
And that's very important, I feel. Very,
And
very important.
About what you said about the digital age that we are living in right now, and it's impossible not to digitally be attached to one device or another, because it's all around us. How long
It's
can
all
you?
around us.
So on that note, I would like to point you towards a few stories where I have put in that element also to create a
Correct.
bond. So the generational love is also happening, and bonding is strengthening because of the digital era also. So maybe
Correct.
we can take a page out of that leaf also.
Especially I think during COVID के
Yeah.
टाइम पे जो डिजिटाइजेशन था उसमें बहुत सारे करेक्ट
And I have seen this actually, that the elderly and the younger generation, they are sharing such funny reels and content and very heartwarming content on social media.
That story was beautiful, you know, the grandmother and the granddaughter sharing and creating for TikTok. That is so cute. I was like, oh my God, imagine if
Yeah.
this, I mean, of course, people were doing it during COVID, तो बहुतों के पास time था, तो they were doing it. But imagine if such a thing could be used as a tool to bring two generations together, how powerful it would be, how cohesive as a society we would become.
Yeah.
You know, I really love that story. Very cute story.
The inspiration comes from social media itself, because I follow such content where two generations are bonding by creating content, heartwarming content, funny content, and I absolutely love it that we are using something like social media, which we are considering as a something of an addiction. Something like that can also be used for a bonding exercise.
True.
Okay.
Very
Yeah.
good.
I think we are done with the long form questions. Should we move on to the rapid fire?
Yes.
The
You
rapid
answered
fire.
mine.
Yes. So the rapid fire, you are already aware, just for the audience. One question I ask, one question you ask. We go back and forth. Okay.
Yes.
My first question to you is: if Mrs. Chaudhary had an Instagram bio, what would it say?
Meddling midlife maven with a PhD in chaos and a do-gooding attitude. Possibly that.
Yeah.
Keeping in line with the character, maybe possibly that would be it.
Yeah,
Definitely meddlesome. Definitely meddlesome. That would come.
But then she has to accept that also ना about herself. अगर वो चीज bio लिख रही है तो वो meddlesome तो नहीं लिखेगी.
Maybe हाँ, meddling, maybe midlife maven, yeah, meddling तो नहीं लिखेगी हाँ, because her Instagram bio also, she has 3 accounts, but bios, yes, I've not touched upon the story. So that's an interesting angle. Okay. So now my question for you is, one second. Let me just pull this up. Yeah. So as I said, the first thing that struck me when I read your book is that this is a book about legacy. Yeah. So inheritance, legacy is the inheritance in this book. So if not inked inheritance, then can you give me 2 other titles that you think will fit the book?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this question, because we had a whole gamut of options from which this was picked. So, Letters and Legacy was in fact one title that I was very keen on, because again there is a wordplay there.
With the alliteration, huh?
Yes. So Letters and Legacy was one. I'm not sure if I remember the others, but definitely there were 8 or 10 options that we had. And Inheritance was unanimously chosen. Again, shout out to my dear friends Sukana and Siddhant, who are always in my street team. Like,
Hmm. Okay.
without even asking, they are like, yeah, ये तो दोनों होंगे ही, उनको क्या ही है. So,
Hmm.
so they were the ones. Together, the three of us chose this title, Inked Inheritance, and so much fun we had deciding on zeroing down on one of these. So Letters and Legacy was one, and I think there was something about wait, I think I might have it here. Till the time I will ask you the next question I have in mind, which is what's one thing your pets would complain about if they could review this book?
That they didn't get enough text time. Definitely. I mean, they each of them have very bold personalities, and they think that capable of getting more airtime than they did. So that's something they would definitely complain about.
Okay. Uh, okay. I'm
Any
not able to
questions?
pull up. So let's
No
forget.
problem. Okay, so basically, you said letters and legacies was one,
Yeah.
and possibly something like through the generations or something like that.
Yeah, like generation was definitely there in the title or
None
in the
of the
subtitle. Yeah,
okay, none of
somewhere
the
it was
options.
there. Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so my next question is, see, ebooks have a wider readership, but in your book, you've been very particular to kind of ensure that the stories are unfolding within the pages of books, physical books like libraries may, handheld copies may, and things like that. So my question is, in today's world, how can we keep the concept of this physical book paperback alive? Hardbacks तो आजकल कोई खरीदता भी नहीं, बहुत महंगे हो गए हैं.
Huh.
But how do we keep the option of a paperback alive? The joy of that smell, the smell of a new book the minute you turn the pages.
Yeah.
That's something we've grown up on. So how do we inculcate that in our next generation?
Again, which brings me, it's a broken record की तरह sound करूंगी मैं अब, but again we come back to the point of legacy, like passing down the books that
Passing
we
it.
read. I'm sure anyone who is a paperback lover and anyone who grew up reading paperbacks and hardcovers, it was very difficult to part with them. So I'm sure in one corner of the house we have those paperbacks somewhere, either on our bookshelves or in stored
Hmm.
in boxes somewhere. So pass them on. I think that is a different kind of joy that will come to the new generation. Like, we are giving them something that belong to us. It's an heirloom,
True, true.
right?
And I think to add to that, Manali, I think there are a few things like number one, I think all families, when they have young kids at home, I know that kids are too much into books and, I mean, school books and homework and things like that. But just 15 minutes or maybe a half an hour every day,
Yeah,
the entire family needs to sit together for a reading time.
exactly. Yeah, that's a
That
very
kind of
good thing. Yeah,
when
family
the
reading
children
together.
see, yeah, when the children see adults reading, then they want to follow suit. And if this habit is inculcated from a very young age, then it picks up roots. So
Yeah.
yesterday in my society, group, so we have an app on that group. Somebody posted that we are hosting a book reading event for children in the
Wow.
clubhouse today. So they were asking for how many people can come and stuff. And I was like, I'm so happy that there is a library in our clubhouse. Only the senior citizens go to read the newspaper in the morning. Very few kids venture into that library space. And I'm just so happy that somebody, a child, had taken the initiative of
Lovely.
holding such an event together where they're having a book session and book reading about a particular book.
Hmm.
And I feel things like this, just these kinds of initiatives can really help
Hmm.
uh, people
Definitely.
with
The
joy.
silent reading and reading together as a group is a great idea.
That
Encourages,
should be
yeah,
encouraged. Yeah,
encourages
I
all
hope so.
generations. In fact, I keep grumbling with people my age also, and in fact, elder than me also, the senior citizens, because nobody around me reads that much. तो
हाँ.
मुझे बहुत वो होता है कि यार okay, first of all, there is a writer in the family, which is a big deal that you are not hyping enough. And second of all, you are not reading the books and hyping them up. Don't read mine, start somewhere. That is also
Somewhere.
my biggest
Reading
grumble.
is important. You read a magazine, you read the newspaper, but reading is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It should be done. Correct. Agreed.
Okay. My next question to you is just a minute. What's one animal you have never rescued but would love to? I think you already answered that. You want to rescue a reptile and Junki is
Yeah. So I've had see, okay, so turtles are covered. Even crabs, as I said, are covered. Obviously, fish and stuff are covered. So yeah, a reptile is something that I've never rescued, and I get really fascinated. I read this book by Zai Whitaker. She is Dr. Salim Ali's niece, and her family founded the Bombay Natural History Society. So she
Okay.
was married to Rom Whitaker, who settled in India, and he was the one who opened the Herpetology Institute in Chennai.
Hmm.
So that's where, and the anti-venom serum and everything comes from there. That
Okay.
book, because Romulus was he was a herpetologist and of course a reptile specialist. That book kind of opened up my horizon about how many different kinds of even snake species are there, and how we as human beings, we hear the word snake and we are scared.
Yeah.
But that actually, I mean, not all species are venomous,
Hmm.
and it's a living being. But we
Yeah.
don't treat reptiles like living beings. We see a
Yeah.
reptile, we want to kind of shoo it away or kill it or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe a lizard. I'm pretty fascinated by lizards, but monitor lizards, or maybe a bearded dragon or a gecko, things that foreigners keep as exotic pets. I would possibly, that's something. But as I said, I don't think my family would be staying with me at that point. I'd be sent to an ashram or a farm and told to live the rest of my life.
तुम रहो अपने एनिमल्स के साथ हमें
Oh,
बग्स
no, no. Leave us alone. Okay, so that brings me to my next question. In your book, which character do you think is closest to Manali, and why? I mean, if I had to guess, I would still say Saloni Sharma, because I am Saloni Sharma.
I was actually
I
going to
think,
say that. And
uh,
there is an elderly couple that goes and stays in a beach town. They open up a
Krishna,
place there. Yeah.
correct, huh?
So
With a
that is
pet, huh?
me, probably 20 years down the line, 20, 25 years down the line. I see myself as that because that is my retirement plan. Bas ek,
Oh,
yeah.
wow, that's lovely. So, what is coming to India or staying there only in Netherlands?
Wherever I find an idyllic place. Hopefully in India. So yeah.
Fine. So we'll start looking. I'm also coming. Okay. If
Yeah.
it's in India, I'm also coming. I'll need a bigger space. Now I have so many rescues and animals. So
No,
thoda bada jagah
I was
lagega.
discussing this with on the virtual launch also, which Nilshri and Deepti Menon hosted. We talked about this particular story only. They also asked me which one is the closest to you.
Hmm.
So I said this one only because this is the retirement plan. Either
Correct.
सलोनी की तरह पहाड़ों में एक कैफे मुझे इनहेरिटेंस में दे
हाँ.
दो या
Cafe
मैं
come bookstore, that kind of scene. हाँ.
एग्जैक्टली
Correct.
otherwise the beach town from beach please. तो इन दोनों में से कुछ एक मेरा रिटायरमेंट प्लान होगा. And they were like, हाँ तुम खोलो मनाली, then we'll have our books and
Very
our
good.
book
Beach
launches
town
and
and we'll
book
come.
meetings and
What
everything.
was that? Wait, we'll come to your beach house for that. What was that? Silk panties.
Yeah.
Now let people guess what silk panties means. I'm not telling anybody.
So yeah, those two characters are closest to I think
Wow.
what I am.
So I guessed one right at least. Okay.
Okay, my next question to you. So the last two questions that I have for you in this are a mashup of both our books. And the first question
Okay.
is, if one character from Inked Inheritance could adopt one animal from your book, who would it be and why?
If one character from Inked Inheritance, it would be definitely Saloni, because I kind of really identified with her. If she could adopt one animal from this thing, I would say it would be possibly a Billu, that Smokey whom we just met. The
Yeah.
reason for that is he's a pretty chilled out cat with he's got a Labrador kind of personality, Smokey. He's very unlike a cat. Like cats don't like being touched on their bellies. This one loves belly rubs, everything, like very dog like. And I can just visualize, a cafe come, a bookstore, that store sign hanging above on a wooden plaque, and shelves groaning under the weight of books, just waiting to drop into arms that will take them home. And Saloni sitting there behind the counter, dim lighting in places, and a small space where there's a table and stuff, and a cat snoozing by a fireplace. So I think Billu
Yeah,
would
you
be.
get the whole picture now, yes.
Yeah, so Billu would be definitely somebody that I think would fit that bill.
Yeah. Also, we have the two dogs already, Cookie and Cream, right? So just
Correct.
another.
Cookie and Cream are already there, and this fellow's very good with dogs. So yeah, he fits that bill.
Yes.
Okay. And my next question to you is, one thing that I was struck with when I read this book, apart from legacies and relationships and stuff, is there is a very innocent, childlike inquisitiveness that is there in the book. That comes from you being like that. You're very curious person by nature. You like observing things. If you walk into a park, I'm sure if you see two people sitting on a bench, you'll be sure to observe them. Kya kar rahe types, not to pry, but
Yeah.
to understand what is going on in their head. You just that observing. That's you. So that vein of childlike inquisitiveness runs through most of the stories. I wouldn't say all, but yeah, most of the stories in this book. So give me a few words that you would use to, or rather, in, give me adjectives that you would use to describe this childlike inquisitiveness.
Yeah. One is definitely curious. Second
Hmm.
would probably, I mean, I don't know if it's the correct word, but definitely something like meddlesome, because I'm not exactly talking to them, but I'm still like, very pokey in that manner that I want to know more about them. So, yeah.
Hmm. Very inquisitive again. Okay, so
Yeah.
curious, inquisitive. I wouldn't say meddlesome, but yeah, not even nosy, not meddlesome, but somebody who's very observant and
Yeah.
wants more
Observant.
information.
Yes.
Right. So that's something that I thought, huh?
Curious,
Observant.
observant, and uh, also optimistic. I wouldn't immediately think negative about whatever is going on with them.
Ah, correct, correct. And that's something that, again, the childlike inquisitiveness is very optimistic, a very sunny side up kind of attitude, a very sunshiny kind of, sheen to everything around you. And I would still think maybe one more word that I would suggest is maybe a tad bit adventurous, because
Hmm.
that adventurous spirit is there.
Yeah.
Not mischievous, not naughty, just adventurous, just up to something. Just एक बार try करके देख लेते हैं ना, चलो एक बार ये कर लेते हैं ना, okay, नया ice cream flavor, let's do this one.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I got when I read the book. Just
Yeah.
let's एक बार try करते हैं. So that's the reason I asked this question. If you
Yeah,
have to use this
right.
adjective.
In fact, in one of the stories, I've used the exact word to describe myself. I don't know if you picked up on it. It's enthu cutlet.
I did. I did. No, it reminded me of one of the so this writing group we are part of Cartoons in. So they host an annual event called Atra, in which teams are formed, and it's a writing event. So in one of those events, our team name was Enthu. We had a team which was Enthu Cutlets, called Enthu Cutlets. So that I immediately connected. I was like, oh my God, Manali has a tendency to pick up on phrases and then retain them. So that is something I would definitely pick for you. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Okay.
My last question to you is you have to complete the following sentences. First is every home needs a little bit of burps, chirps, and catastrophic turfs because dash.
Life is boring without chaos.
Mm, true.
Controlled chaos. Life is boring without controlled chaos. Let me amend myself. God, please, if you're listening, controlled chaos.
And the second one is every bookshelf needs a little bit of inheritance because dash.
Legacies need to be passed down, otherwise, they die. So, there is a quote I can say here. It's an old Indian saying, Red Indian saying. It's like the earth is not ours. We do not get it from our parents. We are not given the earth from our parents. We get it as a loan from our children.
Mm,
So this is an old Red Indian saying. So I would say that legacy, every bookshelf needs an inheritance because that legacy needs to be passed
yeah. Oh, wow. I love that thought. Yes.
down. Okay, I
Oh,
have one last question for you. Since this book is dedicated to your grandparents, and I know that is the running theme throughout the books, the generational love. If they could read this today, what would they say to Manali?
I clearly remember that this one time I was visiting my grandmother. It had been longer than I usually would take to visit her regularly. When I was in Surat or when I was visiting Surat as a student, it was very
Hmm.
frequent. After marriage, it of course with added responsibilities, it became a little more difficult to go
Hmm.
back to my
Obviously,
hometown frequently. So I remember the last words when I visited at her home. The before she got unwell, she was like, you should call more. I mean, I used to, but The way it came out
It
from her
slipped
mouth,
through the
it was,
cracks. I know. Huh.
and my hope is that when she reads this book, she doesn't have that complaint anymore.
Anyway, that's beautiful. That'll make me cry a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's emotional, but that's a beautiful thought. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's the end of my rapid fire question.
Thank you.
I can, nothing
Let's
can top that now.
yeah, let's go to a lighter note, which is the gaming section. It will lighten the mood a little. So
Okay.
how this goes, Sonal, is this time I have designed games around both our books. So one game is designed around your book and one is around mine. We'll start with your book. And
Okay.
the game here is quickly pulling it up. You have to tell me who said the following things. I will read out a quote and you have to answer who of the following said it. Is it Mrs. Chaudhary? Is it Sonal? Or is it the both of you? Okay?
Okay. Oh my God. Okay.
The first statement is I've cancelled plans because of an animal needed me.
200% me.
Second,
200% and just happened very recently.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Next one. I have names for almost every animal I meet.
Mrs. Chaudhary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I usually go with sweetie, baby, things like that. You know, how are you, bebo? If I meet a dog on the road, I mean, walking my dog, if I meet golden retrievers or whatever, other people walking, I'm like, how are you, sweetie, and stuff like that. So Mrs. Chaudhary would have definitely a name for everybody.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that. Yes. Next one. This sounded like a good idea at the time.
Both of us. Both of us. Now, because Mrs. Chaudhary is also remorseful about things,
Yeah.
and me, I tend to overtake, or when it comes to animal rescue, at times I tend to overcome it and take on more responsibility than I'm prepared for. And
Okay.
then if I have to travel out of town suddenly or something, then everything falls on my husband.
Yes.
So it becomes a huge thing for him. So yeah, it sounds like a good idea at times, and then after that, it's like, okay, maybe not. I should have been a little more restrained. So both of us.
One more adjective I want to add at this point because it immediately popped up in my head because I think this is an adjective for you and Mrs. Chaudhary also and for myself, which is impulsive.
Very. अरे हाँ पक्का 200%. Hard thinkers. Don't call it impulsiveness. Call it hard thinking.
Yes,
We
दिल से
think from
सोचते
our
हैं.
heart.
हाँ.
अच्छा थोड़ा poetic लगेगा थोड़ा.
Okay, next statement. I'll clean it up later.
Oh no. Later never comes. Mrs. Chaudhary. I mean, the sequel that I'm writing, you will understand how bad her OCD is. But me too. Nothing later. So if I come
Neither.
back from a trip,
Yeah.
I walk in the door. Our suitcases are there. They are unpacked within the first hour. Suitcases are unpacked, wiped, and put up in the loft. All the clothes are washed and put away.
Yeah.
Everything. So I am later doesn't come in my vocabulary. It has to be done then and then only.
Neither of you.
Yeah.
Right. Next one. The kitchen is where my best ideas arrive.
Oh yes. While cooking or Mrs. Best ideas. I think that's true for me also.
Hmm.
And not so true for me, true for Mrs. Chaudhary, I would guess. For
Hmm.
me, my best ideas arrive when I'm in the gym, when I have no way of writing it down.
Yeah.
That is when my best on the treadmill, a random thought, I'm looking outside the window and I'm like, अरे यार ये कैरेक्टर को ये डायलॉग कितना सही जमेगा, अब कहाँ लिखूं उसको, घर आते आते तक I forget also.
Yeah,
और
of
when
course. Yes.
हाँ भूल ही जाते हैं, तो not for me, but Mrs. Chaudhary would get these ideas.
I can give you a way out of that. You should have a dictaphone.
अब पागल सोचेंगे लोग मुझे जिम में.
Yeah, anyway, हमें लोग पागल ही सोचते हैं. The writers are anyway considered whimsical. So
That's a good idea. No, now I'll start voice recording and sending it to myself. That's better. Then I
yeah.
can transcribe later. वैसा कुछ
Yeah.
करना पड़ेगा. Good idea. Thank you so much. I'm going to do that now.
Next one. Food tastes better when shared.
Me,
Yeah.
me and Mrs. Chaudhary, both of us, because both of us are huge. Uh, I'm not a huge foodie as such. I like sampling things, but I'm not a huge foodie. But I love to cook, and I love to cook all different kinds of cuisines.
Yeah.
And if I'm traveling to a foreign country, I'm 200% certain I will at least sample local food only to understand the flavor profile. I may not
Hmm.
like it or eat it. I mean, I'm very choosy about what I eat, but uh, I would definitely sample. So both of us, Mrs. Chaudhary and me, both, yes, it
Next
takes
one.
time.
Next one. People I know are secretly wondering if they are in my book.
Hmm. No, 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 I don't think so. I'm pretty new here, but so in the society, so people don't wouldn't be worried. But yeah, my family definitely was worried. What have you written? My daughters have read this book. My daughters, my sister, my everybody. Even my husband. The minute the book was out, his book arrived before my author copies arrived because he was the first to get it from Amazon. He got it from Amazon and he was reading. He's like, I want to see what you've written about me because you didn't let me read the draft. So yeah,
Nice.
these three people were very worried, very, very worried.
Which brings me to a question that popped up in my head while I was reading the book. There is one recurring character who is regularly commenting on the social media post that Mrs. Chaudhary is posting. Yeah, and that character is Natasha. I want to ask, is that inspired by the real life Natasha that we
Yes.
both share?
Yeah. No, so this character is inspired by Natasha Sequeira. And when I wrote her in the book, I happened to call her up and I was like, see, Natasha, because she's the one who gave the term Miss Tiny to
Hmm.
my, the sunbird. And I was like, Natasha, I want to write this character and is it okay if I use your name? And she was in church for a prayer.
Hmm.
And she's like, she still took my call. And she's like, yeah, absolutely fine. I said, I won't use your surname if you don't want. No, no, use it. No problem at all. So
Nice.
this character is hugely inspired, not just the character, but also the rescue of Bulbul and Bholuram the tortoise. They are inspired by real life rescues that she has done. So she
Oh.
has a nightingale named Mac, whom she rescued and raised from a chick, and she has a tortoise called Freddy, a
Hmm.
turtle called Freddy. So these two characters, the animal characters, are based on her. This thing. So that was my tribute to her for being an animal rescuer and a friend, and always being so supportive.
Nice. And the last statement we have in this game is, my heart is usually bigger than my common sense.
200%. When
We
it
already
comes to
established
animals,
this. Yeah.
only when it comes to animals. Baki, I have a lot of common sense. I'm very practical as a human being and all. But jidhar I see there is an animal in need, udhar
Hmm.
wo sab gadbad ho jata hai. Everything goes out.
Okay,
Totally.
now we come to the game which is designed around my book. Just give me a.
Okay.
As always, it's a bingo, and I will ask you a bunch of questions related to what the stories and the theme that you have read in Inheritance, and you have to
Hmm.
answer in yes or no. The first one: found an old family photograph.
Yes, I
No.
did.
Next one: kept a meaningful letter.
Yes. My father wrote me a letter when I turned 13. And I still have that letter. It was such a just a very beautiful thing. And when my daughters turned 13, I had each family member write them a letter. So they also have their letter. So that this is our legacy. So when you become a teenager, this is what you get. And we are a family which is hugely into writing such notes and letters and things like that to each other.
How cute.
आजकल WhatsApp पे भेजते हैं. मतलब my husband only gets to read, he gets to write, so he gets to read a lot. But बाकी हम तीनों करते रहते हैं.
Okay, next one. Remembered a grandparent through a smell or recipe.
Remember the?
Remembered a grandparent through a smell or recipe.
No, not really. Why? Because as I said, both my grandmoms passed away pretty early, and I didn't spend. As my grandfathers are recently. I mean, they're not really in the kitchen. So
Hmm.
this is not something that, unfortunately, this has been a huge void in my life. Grandparental love. It's
Yeah.
been a huge void.
Okay, next one. Return to a childhood place.
Oh yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. I think a few years back I went to Shillong. I did my high schooling from Shillong. So a few years back, I happened to go there for a high school reunion. Oh my God, that place it was magical to revisit it with all your childhood buddies. It was just magical.
Yeah.
That was really amazing. Yeah. So that's
Nice.
something I did. Yeah.
Next one. Had a conversation you still remember.
Had a conversation I still remember. With whom? Anybody in particular?
No, no, in general.
Yeah. I do. Okay. It's basically, I mean, I don't remember normal conversations, but sometimes, people just say certain things, like I highlighted in your book also, that
Yeah.
last line about, the generation of future, whatever. So those things that tend to stick in your head.
Yeah.
And there was a conversation I had. There was a gentleman a long time back who had visited our home about 20 years back, I would say, and he introduced me to the concept of divine interventions. He's like, every time you think in life you don't have anything, when you hit rock bottom, there is a divine intervention that will come. It had happened in his life a lot, and he quoted examples, and I kind of latched onto that. And every time I'm like, okay, and kind of, kya karo abhi?
Hmm.
And then something like that will happen.
Hmm. Okay. Next one. Lost yourself in a great book.
Lost myself. Oh yes, all the time. All the time I lose. मैं भी जब पढ़ा ना तुम्हारा किताब इंट इनहेरिटेंसेस में इतनी इमोशनल हो गई थी मैं.
You have passed this test because this is a trick question.
I won the bingo.
I always include this one as a trick question. To anyone who has read the
तुम्हारे
book
लिए
will
ना मैंने
win the
किंडल
win.
खरीदा है नया, अभी बताओ.
Yes.
इससे पता क्या हो?
I love it. Thank you. Okay. Next one. Missed someone unexpectedly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, listen, I mean, both my kids don't stay with me. I mean, the younger one is in hostel. She's in Hyderabad, but it's a residential college. Elder one is not here. She's in Bombay. So there are times, unexpectedly on the screen, once in a cinema hall, I and my husband watching movie, and I happen to smell a perfume. They use the spray, they get from Miniso.
Hmm.
So and then there's this, your heart just
Yeah.
longs to hold your child. So
Yes.
yeah, that's happened with me more times than I can tell.
Oh. Okay. Next one. Reconnected with an old friend.
Oh yes, yes.
Oh.
Thanks to WhatsApp. Thanks to WhatsApp, I would say not Facebook, but a lot of friends, childhood के class 3, class 4 में जो साथ थे. And for
Oh.
me, it was different batches because we moved around so much. Transfers इतने हुए dad के, so there were batches of friends that I had. And there's a friend I have from class 2 or 3. She's in the US, and yeah, it's just great to be reconnected to
Wow.
her. Thanks
Wow.
to social media. Yeah.
How nice. Next one. Cook the family recipe.
Yes. So my parents were here in February, and my mother has Alzheimer's second stage, so she doesn't cook anymore. And of course, there are good and bad days. And they were here, and she used to cook वो दही वाले आलू. I think it's a Gujarati recipe only, if I'm not mistaken. दही में आलू, right? Yeah, जो खट्टे आलू बनते खट्टे मीठे. So I happened to cook that, and that made my father tear up because he's like, तुम्हारी माँ मेरे लिए बनाया करती थी बेटा.
Oh.
And it made him tear up. So yeah. So for him, I tried to cook whatever mom used to cook. But of
Yeah.
course, I'm not as good as my mother. I mean, that taste was different. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's something I do. Sadly.
Yeah, even I feel a little heavy. I'm so glad you had that moment. Yeah. Okay, next one. Thought of someone while traveling.
While traveling,
Hmm.
as in,
Like a train journey or during a flight or you are, in transition.
I did. It was on a recent trip my husband and I took. So we were in Vietnam, and there were some things, the kids had flatly refused to go. They were like, oh, we don't want to go to Vietnam. You guys go. It's been like a dream for you guys. Go. And
Hmm.
we went, and then I realized when we were in Da Nang, and I realized there were the things, you go to Bana Hills, and it's all for the kids. The children would have loved that, those fairy gardens and those, fantasy area and everything. And I terribly missed them. I was like, no, we should have got them here. We should have overruled their objections. But they are adults now, so it's pretty not that easy to overrule.
Okay, next one. Heard a song from another chapter of life.
From another chapter of life. I didn't get that question. Nahi. Matlab,
Oh, matlab, if a particular song had a memory that you had forgotten, but you heard that song and that memory came back.
oh yes, oh yes. So there is a Nazm by Muhammad Rafi Saab is my favorite singer of all times, and there is a Nazm unki. It goes something like बहुत पुरानी picture की है, like 60s की picture है कोई. कहीं एक मासूम कहीं एक मासूम नाजुक सी लड़की बहुत खूबसूरत मगर सांवली सी.
Hmm.
So this, my father had an old cassette player when I was a kid, like 6, 7. I must have been 8, 9 years old. and
Hmm.
he had recorded cassette of his favorite songs. So there was Chaudhary Ka Chand in that, and there was this Nazm. I heard it there. And
Hmm.
उसके बाद से वो कैसेट का भी गया ट्रांसफर्स में इधर उधर हो गया but I still remembered the song and it just struck with me. And after I got married, I happened to mention it to my husband. And we were in Indore, based in Indore then, and he found it somewhere through somebody, and then he got it, got that recording done, whatever, and that's when I could really hear the entire Nazm again. But yeah, that was one moment which was magical for me. It was like childhood coming alive, that memory of my dad coming alive. Yeah.
Yeah, really precious. Next
Yeah.
one. Sat quietly under a tree.
Oh yes, I do that all the time. I'm like tree में, मेरे balcony में, कहीं पे भी दूर, away from people. I love doing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
all the time.
One. Okay. Next one. Wondered about a different path your life could have taken.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. My husband keeps telling me you should have gone into food business or something like that. And I personally feel, and I wanted to be a vet for the longest time when I was a child. I was like, मैं तो vet ही बनूंगी. पहले तो I wanted to be a naturalist, and then my dad told me naturalist जो होते हैं ना जंगल के बीच में टेंट लगा करके ना जमीन पे सोते हैं तो सारी चीटी वीटी चढ़ते हैं बॉडी पे. So then I was like, no, that I cannot do. Then I was like, I will to be a vet only, okay? Because I must have been class 8 or something. तो साइंस लिया है मैंने, मैं तो वेट ही बनूंगी. एंड देन माय डैड वाज लाइक, वेट और नॉट ऑल वेट, स्ट्रीट बनीज एंड क्यूट लिटिल डॉग्स एंड किटन्स एंड स्टफ. आपको ऐसे घोड़ा, काउज, डोंकीज, इनको भी ट्रीट करना पड़ता है. सो दैट ड्रीम ऑल्सो डाइड देयर ओनली वेरी एक्सपीरियंस डेथ. But yeah, I do feel that I should have gone and done something in animal care and welfare instead of HR.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Opened a box of keepsakes.
Oh yes, I have many such boxes, and time to time, I mean, I tend to open them. And I opened a box, and when my daughters were born, the doctors they clip the umbilical cord, right? And they
Hmm.
use these plastic clips. So I saved those clips, and I saw them, and I was like, kind of, oh, they were that young. तभी
Oh.
ठीक था. उतना age.
Nice. Okay. Next one. Called a family member just because.
Yes. Sometimes your cousins or somebody, I'm like, yeah, I saw your post or whatever. Saw this, and just on a whim, kind of,
Nice.
heart melting moment types. That one.
Nice. Next one. Wrote down a memory before it faded.
uh, I have a couple of times tried to include such stuff in my stories or something like that. A piece I was writing. Uh, but the painful ones become too painful when I put it down. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, writing them is not a very cathartic moment. So, no, I tend to avoid this.
Okay.
But,
Okay. Next one. Realize someone shaped who you are.
yes, absolutely. In my love for books, my love for animals comes from my father. My love for cooking comes from my mother, who used to be a fantastic cook. मतलब हमने घर में हम खैर कैंप्स में तो कुछ होता भी नहीं था, वैसे जंगल में तो बनाते थे कैंप्स. तो ऐसा नहीं था कि मिठाई की दुकान से मिठाई आ रही है या कुछ आ रहा है, त्योहारों पे सब कुछ घर में बनता था, सारी बर्फियां लड्डू सब कुछ बनता था. So that's where somewhere I grew up seeing that my mom doing that, making snaps or whatever. And that's where I get my love for cooking from my mother. So these two people have hugely shaped who I am today.
Next one. Felt nostalgic watching sunlight fill a room.
Yes, I have. Today
Yeah.
morning I felt nostalgic when I was out for a walk by the lake, and it was overcast, and there was just a slight roseate glow somewhere in the sky, but there was no sun. And it was beautiful, and I felt nostalgic because I was like, okay, this is the kind of skies that we want through summer and we don't get. And this is the kind of sky that for some people it puts them in a gloomy mood, morose mood. I love rains. So for me, it's always I'm very happy when the sky is like I must have been a vampire in my previous
Okay. Next one. Shared a comfortable silence.
Yeah, with my husband.
Yeah.
Mostly. Now he's a veteran, as I mentioned in my book also. He understands my silence, when to keep his mouth shut. He's very good at it.
Nice. And the last one, and the very last one in the bingo, continued a family tradition.
Continued a family tradition. Yeah, it would be the letters.
Yeah, I was about to say, you've
Yeah.
already mentioned, yeah, the
Yeah,
letter.
so that letter I think is a family tradition I've continued, and that's the only thing I think my daughters take away from me. Other than that, they're not interested in kitchen duties or anything like that. They're like, we'll get help. Mother, it's that generation kind of thing. But
Yeah.
letters is one thing, yeah. That's it.
Nice, nice. And that brings us to the end of the games and the questions and all the interactions.
Oh
So
my
much
God.
fun as always, Sonal. So thank you
Yeah.
once again for gracing the show and being a guest. And before I let you go, of course, you have already mentioned the sequel. So my general question, as always, would be when is that coming out so I can have you again?
No, that will take a little bit more time because I'm still work. Actually, that book was supposed to be a memoir of the year I turned 50. Because I mean, people when they turn 50, they're like, okay, pajas, it's like over the hill, let's slow down and stuff. I went all full throttle in all directions, right? I was like, oh God, now I have more time for myself. So I've driven my husband up the wall and dragged him for treks and learned to ride his bullet motorcycle and gone. I've done a lot of things.
Oh,
So
wow.
I wanted to catalog that. I wrote it as a memoir, and then my editor, in fact, she said that I was speaking to her. She said, "Why not build this into Mrs. Chaudhary? We like the franchise.
Hmm.
That character is very adorable. So why not build it into her character?" So now
Hmm.
I'm turning that into a fictional. So that's why it's taking more time. So I hope, but again, same humor as a genre with a little bit of emotion landing here and there,
Hmm.
but predominantly humor. So that's
Okay.
it.
And is that going to be your next book, or should we expect something else in between?
That is going to be my next book. I'm writing a poetry book as well, which is going to be titled Nostalgic Symphonies. So it's all poetry, slightly more prose-like poetry, lengthier poems which are more prose-like, and poems on childhood, बचपन का घर, बचपन का खेल, बचपन की
I
चीज,
love
उस
this
type of
thing.
thing,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm short of quite a few poems that I still need to write. So either of these books, whichever one I'm able to do before the other, that will come up.
Nice.
That's it.
Looking forward to both. And I now that I've read both of your genres, I don't know which one I'm looking forward to more. Because
No,
I
Manali will always be poets at heart.
yes,
Well said,
that is true. That is true. That is true. Yes.
But thank you so much for having me on the show. As usual, it was a blast being here, joking, laughing. My God, I don't remember when I laughed this much. So,
So,
but thank
so
you so much
as
for having
always,
me.
a pleasure to having you, and all the best. Looking forward to your next ones. Bye. Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you so much. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.